The compact fleet had been watching us for 11 minutes before they bothered to open a channel. I knew because I was the one watching them watch us. My board showed their sensor sweeps. Tight, methodical. The kind of scan that says, we have done this before, and we know exactly what we are looking at. 7 vessels in a crescent formation, 2 kilometers off our port bow, holding position with the casual precision of a civilization that had been parking warships at diplomatic coordinates for longer than humanity had. Fire. The Ardent Reach was a frigate, 41 crew, unarmed by treaty specification. We were the face humanity chose to show the Thrennic Compact on the occasion of first contact, and the Compact had apparently decided the face was worth a thorough read before they spoke to it. Captain Jaron Voss stood at the center of the bridge, with his hands clasped behind his back, and said nothing. That was his answer to the 11 minutes. He had been doing it since I reported the sweep pattern, and he kept doing it, and the Compact kept scanning, and I kept logging the sweeps and not saying what I was thinking, which was, they think they already know what we are. The hail came at minute 12. Standard diplomatic frequency. I routed it to the main display and stepped back from my station so Voss could have the frame. The face that filled the screen was Thrennic, one of the 7 species in the Compact's parliamentary structure, the ones who typically handled first contact proceedings. Bilateral symmetry, pale gray integument, 4 optical sensors arranged in a horizontal band across the upper face. The voice came through translation lag, measured, unhurried, the cadence of something that had given this particular speech many times, and saw no reason to rush it. We are the Thrennic Compact. We have observed your vessel. We have completed our assessment. You are recognized as a new species. Designation pending formal registration. Vessel class is logged. Your crew complement is logged. Your armament status is logged. A pause. You have brought a diplomatic frigate. Appreciate the restraint. Voss let the silence sit for 2 full seconds after the translation finished. I had served under 3 captains. Only Voss used silence like a tool. Compact representative, he said. We appreciate the welcome. We are humanity. This is the Ardent Reach. I am Captain Darren Voss, representing the Terran Diplomatic Service. We know what you are, Captain Voss. Representative's 4 eyes did not blink in any sequence I could map. We have completed our assessment. You are a young species. Interstellar capability confirmed but recently achieved. Your vessel is lightly armed for its class. You have arrived alone. Another pause, this one with a different weight to it. We find the gesture appropriate. A frigate is a proportionate first step. I watched my board. The Compact's sensor sweeps had not stopped. They were still reading us, still pulling data, still building their file. There was a quality to the sweeps, now that I could only describe as satisfied. They had seen what they expected to see. They had a category for us, and we had walked into it, and the rest was procedure. Voss gave me a look, just a look. I had been waiting for it for 11 minutes. I reached across my station and keyed the tight beam transponder on channel 7. 1 pulse. Arranged. Behind us, in the dark, Caldera's answer cut her stealth field. The Compact's sensor returns did not just change, they broke. I watched 4 of their 7 vessels execute emergency lateral burns simultaneously. Not collision avoidance, pure instinct, spatial reflex of crews who had just had something appear on their scopes, that their scopes had been telling them for 12 minutes, was not. The lead vessel's lateral attitude jets fired and held for 3 full seconds before someone on their bridge caught the override and killed them. 720 meters of Wedge-class Dreadnought hung in the space directly astern of the Ardent Reach. Her running lights were off. Hull was dark. Not the flat dark of unpainted metal, but the active dark of a stealth coating that had just been stood down. Surfaces still faintly warm from the field's collapse. Her gun emplacements were indexed to safe positions. Her drives were cold. She was simply present, enormous and unhurried, the way a mountain is present, without effort, without announcement, without apology. The Compact representative had stopped speaking mid-sentence. I do not know what word they had been forming. The translation buffer caught a fragment, something that might have been a procedural connector, and then silence. Voss waited. On my board, I could see the Compact fleet's internal communications spiking. Short bursts, high frequency, the signature of a command structure. talking very fast across 7 vessels. I did not have the cipher for their language at that encryption level. I did not need it. I had attended enough emergency drills to recognize the shape of the traffic. The lead vessel's lateral jets fired again. Second. Corrective only, then stopped. The compact representative reappeared on screen. Their 4 eyes were tracking something off-frame. The sensor returns, I assumed. The numbers that were still coming in and were not resolving into anything their assessment protocols had prepared for. Captain Voss. The voice had lost its procedural cadence. It had not gained fear. Not exactly. But it had shed the easy authority of something that already knew. The answer. Your assessment file indicated a single vessel. The Ardent Reach is a single vessel, Voss said. A pause. The ship behind you. Caldera's answer, Voss said. She is our escort. Another pause longer. On my board, the compact fleet's scan intensity had tripled. All of it now concentrated on the Dreadnought. I watched the sweep patterns change character. No longer the methodical file building of the first 12 minutes. These were the scans of operators trying to understand what they were looking at, trying to reconcile the mass signature with the weapon signature, with the drive signature, with the stealth envelope that had hidden all of it. 12 minutes at close range from 7 warships, with sensors their civilization had been refining for 400 years. Your escort, representative said. Standard practice, Voss said. When the Ardent Reach travels in unfamiliar space, she does not travel alone. Kept my eyes on my board. The compact fleet's attitude jets had gone quiet. All 7 vessels were holding position. Not the holding position of a fleet at diplomatic anchor, but the holding position of a fleet that had just recalculated the distance between itself and something it had not properly measured. Captain Voss. Representative's voice was careful now. Deliberate. Your escort vessel. It was present for the duration of our contact proceedings. Yes, we did not detect it. No, Voss said, you didn't. The silence that followed lasted 9 seconds, I counted on my board. The compact's internal communications had dropped from spike to trickle. Not because they had finished talking. Because they had, collectively, run out of the obvious things to say. When the representative spoke again, the procedural framework was gone entirely. What remained was something older and simpler. Captain Voss. How many vessels accompany the Ardent Reach that we have not detected? Voss looked at me. I looked at my board. It was a fair question. It deserved an honest answer, and Voss, I had learned, did not give dishonest ones. Compact representative, he said. That is not information I am authorized to share on first contact. The 9 seconds of silence had been long. The silence that followed that answer was longer. I watched the compact fleet sensor sweeps resume. Slower this time, spreading out, reaching into the dark behind the Ardent Reach and past it and around it, probing the space that 12 minutes ago they had been entirely certain they understood. I watched them find nothing, which was not the same as nothing being there. And I watched that distinction land, somewhere in the compact representative's 4-eyed face. We would like, the representative said finally, to register humanity for formal diplomatic contact. We would like that as well, Voss said. It was, by every measure I was trained to apply, a successful first contact. No shots fired, no threats exchanged. The compact fleet stood down its threat posture formally at the 18-minute mark. All 7 vessels returning to diplomatic anchor, their gun emplacements logging safe. The representative spoke for another hour about registration procedures and corridor access, and the protocols of the Halveth approaches. And Voss listened and answered, and committed to nothing that needed committing to. I spent that hour watching the scan patterns. They never stopped reaching into the dark. The compact had arrived at first contact with a full assessment, a complete file, a category prepared and waiting. They had read the Ardent Reach, and they had understood her, and they had known. With 400 years of experience behind the certainty, exactly, humanity had sent. What no file accounted for was why we had sent it. The Ardent Reach was our face. Unarmed, diplomatic, proportionate. First step. What the compact spent the rest of that day quietly reckoning with was the question of what walked behind our face, silent in the dark, and what it said about us, that we considered that arrangement unremarkable. I did not envy them the math.